Let's get into it. I'm super excited for this one.
First of all, so we had a viewer on my end say that saying the "Don't Say Gay" bill is absolutely the worst thing you could possibly say about it. So, what are your thoughts about that? Let's just start there. Why are we calling it the "Don't Say Gay" bill? What's going on here?
So, out of the many comments on my video on it, the implication is if you say you're gay at school, there will be negative repercussions.
Okay.
And so it's been codenamed "Don't Say Gay" because there'll be negative repercussions.
Interesting. Okay. And guys, put your questions in the comments, and then I'll get to them. I'll keep scrolling, and then so Becca, what I'd love to do is just kind of have you kind of go over just kind of a brief reality of it, and then we'll get into some questions if that's okay with you.
For sure, yeah. So really, the bill boils down into two big components. First component is third grade and under. Teachers aren't going to teach with curriculum about sexual orientation and gender identity. Okay, so that's the part that I think more people overlap than those who don't, right? And there's two sides of this conversation. One is teachers aren't doing it already. Why is there even a bill? And the other side is, well, teachers are doing it, and I don't want my kids part of it, right? So both sides are denying that there are extremes happening in the world. Second part of the bill is if a student identifies with a teacher with sexual or gender, they are to inform the parent. So the parent can give them the support they need. And the two camps here is a kid, and there are bad parents in the world who are going to do bad things as a result. And the other side of it is, I want to know if my kid's doing that so I can support them.
Okay. So let's go to some of these comments. Let's jump right into it, man. This is all about the discussion. Let kids be kids. AJ's rant room says. Let kids be kids. Why would you think someone would say that? Let kids be kids.
Well, sure. I was one of those ones that had my innocence taken in kindergarten because I was exposed to adult things. And when you expose things like this to children, they start thinking about things more than just engaging with their classmates. They start thinking things that you wouldn't feel or talk about until puberty. And even then, you wouldn't necessarily talk about it in a public setting.
So are you okay with teachers teaching about straight relationships? That's a good question. I like that question.
That's a very good question. And I saw that comment a few times, right? Is it a don't say straight bill either?
Yeah.
You know, the two camps I've seen here is, well, we don't need to say that because the majority is that. So they don't need more time and attention. So therefore, we do need to give the time and attention to those who aren't so they can feel like it's normalized.
Okay.
Fair. But is it a teacher's responsibility or responsibility to do that?
Where does this bill come from? Like, why are we here? Can we talk about that? Like, how did we get here?
And this is a tough one. I'm not a Florida resident. I can say that a lot.
I can say a lot of comments too. Like, how did we get here? Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of Florida's legislation lately is very geared towards protecting against a certain ideology. However, there are practical examples that led up to it. Like, you know, these legislators don't just sit in a room and go, oh yeah, we feel like this is what's happening. They have to have testimony from other people, and there are examples of things happening. So a good example would be in my high school, the high school basketball coach was sleeping with half the team because they entrusted a lot of deep emotional things with him. This is not rare. This is very common. And so for a student to develop a strong relationship with a teacher as opposed to a parent around this, well, is that opening the door? And that's where the motivation from this bill came from.
Okay, this is very, very interesting. There's a lot that's involved in this, right? And it's just been like this the last couple of weeks, I think, on TikTok, is that we're talking about some really heavy things that are multi-dimensional and, like, you know, intertwined and whatnot. So I kind of have some thoughts about it. And so you and I talked earlier today, and something that I think really helped me understand, and I think it's important for us to have a meeting of the minds around just kind of like the basic what it is and what it isn't, right? And so something you said to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, something you said to me is that, like, liberals think that this is going to out certain individuals, right? Because if they say something at school, they're going to go home and out they're out. The teacher's going to call the parents and out them, and conservative parents may do something bad to the children, whereas conservatives don't want this to happen because they don't want to be teaching gay to kids in school. Is that kind of the idea? And can we get some comments? Are we agreeing on that? Can we have a meeting of the minds there? Is that spot on or is that dead off?
I'd say based off the comments on my video, that's where it is. That's 100% where it is the assumption is all conservative parents are going to send their kids to conversion therapy. And so therefore, no, we can't out them because of that. And then the other side of it is I teach religion to my kid, and my religion says that ideology is against my religion. And I don't want my kid to go to public school and have my faiths conflicted there with my kid from the teacher when they're not supposed to be talking about that.
So let's pause. I want to have a meeting of the minds right here. So can we agree that that's kind of what the consensus is? And you tell me on your end too, Becca. People in my comments, can we agree that that's kind of what the consensus is, right? We need to have a meeting of the minds as to where we're at so that we can push the conversation forward. Is that a yes? So we got a boom? Is that what we're talking about? Come on, comment. Let's go. School choice, exactly. Yes. It's just a yes or no. Come on. I'm trying to figure out where you guys are at.
We got a yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay. You can't see my comments, right?
I think not. No, I think I'm seeing mine. Yeah.
Okay.
For my folk, we need yes or no, whether that's generally where we're at.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. There's also a delay. So,
okay.
Yes. I agree with that. We have one no. Yes, I think we should be open to kids. Yes, absolutely. It's 4-page. Okay. Very good. We're getting a yes. Okay. We're getting a yes. I'm just going to go because y'all gotta speed up with these. Yep. So here's my question to you, right? So if we don't want these children to be outed, the people who don't want their children to be outed or feel that their kids are going to be outed, do you want to know if your child comes to school and says, well, teacher, I think that I'm trans and I want to start I don't know what the therapy is called or whatever, so you start transitioning. Yep. I want to start taking medications, the hormone medications to get that changed. Parents, do the parents who think it's bad to out these kids, do you want to be involved in that process? That's what I want to know, right? Like, do you want to know about that? So if you don't want the teacher to call home and say, hey, your child is gay, what if the teacher says, oh, that's great, you want to be trans? Well, let's get that forwarded. I'm not going to call your parents. Is that okay too? Let's talk about that.
That's a tough one.
Because you can't have both, right? You can't have both.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to allow you're going to open the communication between the parent and the teacher and let there be full transparency, or you're going to open up a space for kids to make decisions without the parent being involved. So you cannot have both, right? You cannot have both.
Well, and the other side of that, there's current legislation going on that children can bypass, so children can give consent now. And there's certain legislation saying, okay, so you can bypass the parents and go do medical things to your body without parents.
Exactly.
Right.
And we have to understand that. And we have to understand that, guys, is that this is where emotion gets in the way. And like, we have to like really just pause and realize that are you speaking from an emotional point of view, or have you paused, set your emotion aside, and come to this discussion ready to have the discussion, right? Because the reality is that this one aspect may bother you or trigger you, but kids can now give consent without parents even being involved. Let's get there, right? Let's start the discussion there, because that's what truly matters. So, okay, let's do this. It's dubs. Is the sound not okay? Do you guys have an issue with the sound? Yeah, that's right. I don't compare with the government, right? Why do children need to learn about these things so young? Legit question. Why do children need to learn about these things so young? Let's get there. Let's just ask some questions. Yeah, and who's teaching these things? Because the bill is not saying that teachers can teach about being gay. Is that what the bill's saying?
Not to teach about sexual orientation or gender identity as part of the curriculum.
Okay.
So what it does not stop is a child can come to school and say, I've got 2 dads, I've got 2 moms. The teacher will just acknowledge that exists and move on in their day.
But so the bill is saying that teachers cannot teach based on sexuality.
They cannot teach the topics of sexual orientation or gender identity.
Are we? I agree with that. Why would teachers be teaching sexuality?
And it's for 3rd grade and under, right? So it's for a much younger age frame.
Why would they be teaching sexuality anyway at that age?
So I've had to wrap my head around this, right? So what is LGB? Like, what are those 3 letters?
Lesbian, gay, bisexual.
And
those are
that's
all
defined
sexual
as,
preferences. Those are
it's
all
defined
sexual
as,
preferences.
right.
Sexual preferences. Listen, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Go ahead.
Yep, exactly. So, how do you explain to a kid that LGB means that you like the same sex? Okay, well, what does that mean to a 3rd grader?
Come on.
Right? Are we talking biology at this point?
Come
If we're
on.
talking biology, how deep are we getting into it at
Speak.
3rd grade and under?
And this bill is essentially saying we're not doing that no more. That's what this
Nope.
bill is saying.
No.
So that I say yes. I want to say yes. And here's my thing. I was actually going to do a post about this. I don't think that gay should be taught in schools. Take the flags out. Take BLM flags out. Take the gay flags out. Let these kids be kids, right? Because we didn't have that. I'll speak for myself. I didn't have that growing up, and I didn't. Gay wasn't like a big thing for me. I just was able to just kind of transition into being gay as I got older and figured this stuff out and figured what I wanted. I don't think kids should be taught sexuality 3rd grade and under. I think that's crazy. And if this bill is saying that's where it's going to stop, I say yes to that.
Well, and children are highly influenced, and they're motivated by the pecking order, right? And so, as an ideology is romanticized by the adult in their lives, and let's be real, teachers are the majority of a kid's lives, more so than parents, especially in today's climate. So, and I've had teachers come to me and say this conversation I've had a lot of kids feel that they were being neglected because they weren't LGB, because certain other teachers highly focused on that.
Right.
And so what does that motivation look like for a kid who's trying to get the attention of the largest influence of adult in their life, right?
Yeah. So here's another thing that's interesting too. Kids are already so exposed. Kids are using TikTok. Kids are on this app. They're already so exposed to the LGBTQ. It just is what it is. I feel like there's a gay agenda. I'm gay. I can speak on this. I feel like there is a gay agenda, and it's like make the world gay, or make the world a safe space. But that safe space is becoming so apparent that in order to be seen in this world, it almost feels like you have to identify as LGBTQ, and it's starting at a very young age. And I think it's a very, very dangerous place for us to be in society because it's a pendulum. We're just going the other way. We're going the other way. Now it's gonna be scary to come out as straight. It's like I'm straight. I just want to be with a woman. Well, you have to be with a trans woman too. You have to be with other people. Well, I don't want to. I don't like now we're in this weird area where we're forcing sexuality onto people who don't want it. And so I think it's very interesting. I think this bill, specifically if it's saying you cannot teach sexuality at a 3rd grade level and below, I don't see anything wrong with that. Put this in the comments, guys. Yes or no, or are we in agreement or no? Like, or do you think that people should be teaching, teachers should be teaching sexuality 3rd grade and below? Yes or no?
Where I think the charge for a lot of this is we want to normalize it. We want to normalize it for kids to not think they have to hide it.
Okay.
Is romanticizing it at a young age, is that the right way to do that? Is that how we create normalization?
Yeah. We had one person say yes. So we got an overwhelmingly no. Okay.
I've got a no.
We got an overwhelmingly no.
I've got 2 no's.
Okay, hold on. We got another yes. I'm curious. I'm curious on the yeses. I want to talk to the yeses. Like, so if you do think that sexuality should be taught to, because what age is that? 3rd grade and below. What age is that? What are we talking?
10-ish and under.
10?
11, 10 and under. Yeah. So
these people should be taught sexuality. To the yeses, they should be taught sexuality at 10. I think that's interesting. I think that's so interesting. And are they already not being exposed to sexuality in life at that age? I mean, these kids have 10 years old. These kids have cell phones. They've got iPads. They've got YouTube. They've got all these things. And yes, some people put parental controls on there. But what kid does not know how to bypass, some controls that are on there? I know that I did when I was young. My parents tried to keep things from me. I most certainly did fine. Kids are going to find it. Right?
That's what I did. Like I hacked my way through all that stuff at that age, right?
Come on, man.
I found the information.
Kids are smarter than adults, So they're gonna figure this stuff out. Why do we need to have this done at schools? I honestly think that what's happening at the schools should not have anything to do with other than curriculum, which is we're already vast backwards on that, right? Like the school system needs to be redone completely, but until we get there, sexuality, BLM, all that kind of stuff. Like, get that shit out of there. It does not add to the. I think it distracts from what the school is supposed to be about. Get in there, figure out how to add up some math, and go home. Figure out your sexuality at home. So, okay, interesting. So that's the first part of the bill, the third grade and below. And you said there's another part. So what's the other part?
Yeah, so if a child comes to a teacher and identifies as LGBTQ, the teacher is to inform the parents. Now, there's a part in there that says if the school suspects, as in the child identifies or the school is identified, that is going to cause harm, the school may implement additional policies concerning that, such as not saying anything. It's a very vague thing.
Interesting.
But it is something that was taken into consideration, is if someone says, if my parents find out, like, I'm going to be kicked out, the school is not then obligated to proceed with how it's written, that they can have additional policies in place. And
so here's my question.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Because see, this is where it gets like really, really gray, right? Is that so? What if the school deems that a child comes and says, "Hey, I think I'm gay," and the teacher's like, "Oh, okay, well, that's awesome. How's it going at home?" And they say, "Well, I don't feel safe at home." Is this a thing now where CPS can get involved and these children can be taken out of their homes?
That's what I think it is.
You know what I mean? And like, so, and that's a very scary place to be, because children say a lot of things, and children don't understand a lot of things, right? Children are very smart, but sometimes they think something's going on and it's not going on, or children at the end of the day are still children, and so if CPS is going to get involved because something the child said, that's kind of scary. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, and I'll be honest, I had a bad situation with CPS at that age. I did report things happening, and it led into 10 years of moving around the country because I was in a bad situation. And I'm always torn on that. Yeah. What if they had succeeded? What would have happened? Well, I know that system is broken too, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that. However, the assumption is going that the majority falls under this umbrella.
Yeah.
In today's world, do we really think the majority is going to get to that point where if my parents find out, I am actually going to be in danger? Or is it the emotions? Is it the fear? Right?
Let's get there, because and I said this before. I had a post where I said, being gay, being queer, we've arrived, right? We have a seat at the table. We're definitely making decisions in America. This is truly how I feel. We have a trans person, we have a gay black person, a trans woman. We are leading this conversation right now on TikTok, on this app. I'm not afraid to be gay in America. I'm not afraid to be who I am. I feel like America is a safe space for being gay, and that's just what I feel like. Are there hateful people out there? Yes, there are hateful people exist. It doesn't matter what they hate against; they exist. How do you navigate that hate, right? So I feel like we've all arrived there, and some of us are better at it than others. But the problem is that, like, is being gay truly still an issue? Like, is coming out still an issue? I feel like there's so many gay parents that are rooting for gay kids, that I feel like some of these gay kids are not even gay. They're not even. I feel like some of these kids are not even gay. I honestly do. And so I feel like it's in this weird space right now. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to articulate, but I think it's so interesting in that people feel like their child needs to have a safe space around being gay. I don't know. Well, does that make sense? Is that clicking to anybody?
The part that I struggle with this part of the conversation is, okay, so we're going to continue to hide. Like, we're reinforcing that we need to hide. Well, wouldn't normalization of the culture require more boldness and coming out, right? So, okay, so if everyone should just be who they are as young as they understand that that's what they're going to be, then why the hiding? Why keep perpetuating hiding for fear over what could be a small percentage of people in today's time? I understand what the 90s was like. I understand what the early 2000s was like. Yeah. It's different today. Things move really flipping quick.
Yeah, it's not the same. And like, I just don't know. Like, Matthew Shepard, and I brought him up before, but Matthew Shepard is like, that's like the case, right? Like that's like the gay case in America that really changed a lot of things for America. And when you listen to like what's happening in other countries where being gay ends up with people being thrown off of buildings and stuff, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of that stuff, but I haven't heard of that in a while. But like, I've heard of that more recently than anything in America. Does that make sense? Like, I don't hear about these types of stories in America, so it's just very, very interesting to me. very interesting to me. So somebody said, so one of the things I want to address is this. Somebody said, leave our kids alone. Let's talk about that. Leave our kids alone. Who's messing with your kids? Right? So who is the enemy that's messing with your kids? And that's what I want to know right now. So who is the enemy that's messing with your kids? Let's put that in the comments right now, guys. And what are your thoughts about that, Becca? Leave our kids alone.
Okay, at what level are we leaving the kids alone? Are we ignoring anything they ever say? Period. Right? Or does leave our kids alone mean let's not push ideologies that I don't want as a parent my children to be exposed to in public school? I don't know, homeschool then. Like, there's a lot of complexities here that I think people are really hoping that the public education system solves for in a very diverse world. And
this is so important right here. This is exactly what I'm trying to get to. That's exactly what I'm trying to get to, right? So we're talking public education, and you're saying leave our kids alone. But if you're sending your child to public education, right? We don't make the rules for public education. We don't. You know, I suppose our tax dollars goes in, and the government defines what's necessary for our kids. If we trust the government to teach our kids arithmetic, why not? Why don't you trust the government to teach your kids sexuality? And again, this is just pushing the conversation forward and really getting us to think outside the box of our emotion and really be present in what's happening. If you trust the government to teach your child arithmetic, why don't you trust the government to teach your child sexuality? You know, and what responsibility do you have as a parent to take that on for yourself? That's what I want to know. Put that in the comments, guys. I think it's very interesting. What do you think about that, Becca?
I mean, I don't. I take responsibility for my environment and my world, in which case I have taken those steps. And yeah, sure, there are parents who can't take those steps for all kinds of reasons. But at the same time, in a world of diversity, right? If you want your child to be raised in a funnel with limited exposure, public school isn't going to be that place anymore, honey.
Listen.
It's not.
And again, listen, we were talking about kids 7 and younger. Yes, you are absolutely right. You're talking about kids 7 and younger. But those kids 7 and younger have parents, and those parents are sending them to public school. Now, keep in mind, I get it. I get that private school is expensive. I get that homeschooling might be expensive and cumbersome because you have to go to work. But I think that this is the point in reality in society where we all got to pause. We got to pause and say, we've been doing this for so long. It clearly doesn't work. It's now starting to bleed into other areas of our lives. It makes us uncomfortable. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep on keeping on? Right? You're going to keep on keeping on and just complain about it? And I'm not trying to gaslight. This is a safe space, right? But I want us to be uncomfortable here. Let's be uncomfortable. What are you going to do about it? You know? The pandemic just happened, folks. There's 186 people in here. The pandemic just happened, okay? The reality is that the government doesn't give a shit about y'all. It doesn't. I mean, y'all saw how that went down. Like there was so much stuff going on. So what are you going to do about it, right? I think at some point we have to start realizing that we have to take back our own. We got to take this stuff back. If you don't want the government teaching your kids sexuality, what are you going to do about it, right? What are you going to do about it? So let's talk about that. What do you think about what I just said?
So that's where I'm at with my close circles is, okay, so if you boil past the emotions, get past the identity politics, what this is about is who's in control of the mechanisms, aka the government, and what does that message look like? Sounds to me like we gave too much power in the first place.
Bingo.
So do we keep giving them more power? And this applies to both sides of the conversation, right? Because let's talk about bodily autonomy. One side says, I'm going to tell you exactly what you should put in your body to protect others. And the other side says, how dare you do something to your body?
It's getting uncomfortable.
Which one? Who's going to be control of the mechanism?
Pick a struggle, right? And these are the conversations that we need to have. This is what we need to have. But see, we're not going to get anywhere if we keep doing this, if we keep arguing. If we keep arguing one side, you need to get it out. You need to let me teach your child sexuality and being trans and stuff like that. Guys, what are we doing, right? What are we doing here, and why can't we just pause and realize that both sides are uncomfortable with what's happening in society right now? But these people at the top, they have no interest in appeasing either side. They have no interest. And if you think that they do, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem because you're not present, right? And so, people say I pay my taxes. That's a whole conversation itself because, I mean, you may pay your taxes, but do you see the benefit of it? And at some point, we're gonna have to start to say, like, yo, I don't see the benefit of this. Why am I doing this? And the fact that they got us all to a point, this is getting like we're going all over the place, but it's important. The fact that we're all so like caught up in this idea that I have to do this, or else I'm gonna go to jail. I'm gonna do that. Well, they can't put you all in jail. Not now. I'm not trying to say nothing. But we have to start having these conversations. If you don't want your child to be taught sexuality at a public school, how much say so do you have in that? You know. So, questions, guys. What are your questions?
I've got one person. A swag says
Yes.
home foundation is key. Home foundation is key, regardless of where this conversation is. Home foundation is key.
Yeah. There's a paper behind me now. I agree with that. Oh, we can go poll in here too. That's pretty cool. Okay. All right, guys. What else? I mean, so what else is something that sticks out to you in here in this whole bill, Becca? Like that's interesting to you?
Where I can't get past.
Hold on, you guys are so we're groomers now. You guys are groomers, okay?
Yes, indoctrination and grooming. Which again, who's in charge of the mechanism? If there's a mechanism in place that allows it, why did the mechanism get in place to begin with? Should we remove the mechanism?
My lives are mod free. I don't have mods. I don't want mods. I want everybody part of the discussion. But I want you. And so thank you for that. But go ahead.
That's the one thing I think people don't realize about when we ask the government to do anything. Mechanisms are required at that point. And who is in charge of the mechanism? Once it's a law, there's no fail safes for us.
Yeah.
That's it. That's giving away that responsibility and power. And I think people really struggle with that concept. One side of the conversation, we need to be safe and everything is safe. Okay, but like those laws and rules don't stop bad from still happening.
Why am I pretending that it's not grooming? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the grooming piece, right? So and first and foremost, what I think you need to understand is that not eater outer, okay? Which I think what you need to understand is that first and foremost, this is a discussion, right? So when you call somebody groomers or you name call, that taps you out. But this is such an important conversation that I'm going to tap you back into the conversation and answer your question, okay? So why are you pretending like it's not grooming? What about when did I say that it wasn't grooming, right? So, and I don't need you to answer that, but like just get there, really. I haven't said anything about grooming. We haven't even talked about grooming, right? What I'm saying to you is that I straight up said children under 3 years, even at 10 and 11, they shouldn't be taught sexuality as far as I'm concerned. If they are taught sexuality, that should be done at the home. It should be done at the home. I agree with that, right? But if you think that the public education school is the only place where this is happening, I think you're not present in the conversation, and that's where you tap yourself out ultimately, right? Kids are being groomed on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like kids are being groomed on TikTok on this app. Have you not seen the clickbait on this app? Kids are on this app. So when you come to this discussion, be prepared to talk about the reality of the situation, right? I don't think sexuality should be taught in schools at all. But if you think that this is going to be a solve for kids not being groomed, you're not ready for the discussion. Does that make sense? What are your thoughts on that, Becca?
Oh, 100%. Like my kids have explored websites I never even heard of. Like it's stopping it at schools isn't going to stop anything at all. In fact, think about it. Think about this. If there's larger chunks of kids who are identifying as such, purely the exposure in social circles is going to do that. I can't tell you how many child support groups I was part of where they were talking about things that even I didn't know as an adult, and I had to ask questions.
So you know what's interesting about this, and I really hope that you guys stick with me and stay uncomfortable, because there were some TikToks that were, and I'm trying not to say the words that would get us taken down, but there was a TikTok a while back ago that. Sorry, I'm so gassy. Where it was like this guy, and he was driving the car. He was like, "Hey, don't go." And it was like when they're on their way to their parents, to their friend's house with their 4-year-old sister or something like that, and the parents are gone or whatever. It was a viral post, and everybody was like, "Oh, you gotta get these guys, And then there was the whole discussion about the maps. Do you guys remember the maps thing? And I said, listen, we need to have this conversation because that stuff's not going anywhere. That stuff's not going anywhere, and it does exist. And who do you want to have this conversation first? Which one do you want to understand who a map is first? You or your child? And parents, y'all not ready for that discussion, right? A lot of you guys are not ready for that discussion. I'm not a parent, so I can take a look at it. I am an uncle, though. I can take a look at it and look at it from a different point of view, right? And say, hey, man, like, I get that you think if this happens to your child, you're going to murder the person, and you should, right? But the reality is that your child will still be traumatized, right? So how do you keep it? The more important thing is to keep your child from being traumatized, unless the more important thing for you is for you to kill, or for you to hurt somebody who hurts your child. It doesn't make any sense. Do you want to stop your child from being hurt, or do you want to hurt the person who hurts your child? Pick one, right? And pick the most important one. And if you can get there, and you're not going to be able to get there unless you can pause your emotion, right? If you get there, you want to stop your child from being hurt. And if you want to stop your child from being hurt, you have to be an adult and have these conversations. You have to put your emotion away. And so let's talk about the group. I want to look up the. What do you guys thoughts about that? Put that in the comments. You know, get uncomfortable, guys. Come on. If your child means everything to you, what would you do to protect your child? Would you understand their predator before having to hurt the predator after hurting your child? Let's get there. Get uncomfortable. I'm here for it.
That's the part I say to every person in this conversation about predators. Predators are not a gender, class, color, any of that. Predators seek opportunities.
And you know what the biggest opportunity is that parents think that they're going to protect their child at all costs, and that they're doing the most to protect your child. Yes, you are, but you're going to have some. There's going to be opportunity for a predator to step in, and if you don't think that's true, talk to other children who have been exposed to that. Just talk to them. Talk to their parents. Their parents knew that they covered every base to protect the child, and the child still got hurt. You gotta pause. You have to pause. You have to pause. You gotta chime in. You know what I mean? So let's look up with the label of grooming. I want to look that up and talk about that. Okay, grooming near me. That's weird. Okay, grooming.
Careful now.
Right? I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, I want to get child grooming. Let's look it up. Okay, do you want to go Wikipedia? Let's do Wikipedia. I feel like Wikipedia is like it's good now, is it or no?
You know, it's like when someone says non-GMO, you know.
Right. I'm just googling it. Maps need to be shot. Period. Okay. Is that before or after they hurt your child? Because if you do it before they hurt your child, you're going to jail. Like, if you want to have the discussion, we can have it, but we're gonna talk realistically about it. So maps need to be heard before or after the child. You know, come on. Let's do that. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's talk about child grooming. Child grooming is befriending and establishing an emotional connection with a child, and sometimes the family, to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of SA. Child grooming is also regularly used to lure minors into various illicit businesses such as child trafficking, child prostitution, I can't say some of these words, or the production of child movies. Okay, I think that's a pretty legit definition. Do we feel that that's what this school bill is allowing? Yes or no? Is that what the school bill is allowing or not allowing or protecting from? Let's read that one more time. Child grooming is befriending and establishing an emotional connection with the child and sometimes the family to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of SA. Okay, let's just start with that. Is this bill protecting that? Because that doesn't sound like what this bill's protecting.
Mm-mm. No.
What are your thoughts? What do you think?
When a child is in a situation at home where they lack something, they're going to seek it from others. And predators know that about kids.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of whether it's a teacher or a janitor or a counselor or a principal or a policeman or a fireman or anything, that person is going to seek that opportunity. They build skill sets around that. I was groomed until something bad happened. And it started with, let's just dance. And then things got real 9 months later.
Oh my gosh.
So some things start very innocent and no one can see it until it's too late.
And does that only happen at school?
Hell no, it doesn't.
Does that only happen at school? So I want to tap into the people who feel like this is. Do you feel like that once it's, so say yes, the bill is passed, they can't talk about gay. Yes, we've done it. We've protected our children. Are you safe now? Yes or no? Are you safe now from predators? Are you safe now from child grooming? Right? And then on the flip side, what are the statistics of child of what are the statistics of children being groomed and hurt by teachers now? Right? Like is this like an epidemic in America where teachers are essaying children? Is that what's happening now? Let's talk about it. Let's get there. So overwhelmingly, no.
I struggle with the statistics conversation in this
Fine,
entire thing.
fine. I get that. That may be true, but let's talk about it. Like, is it overwhelmingly happening right now? Is this like an issue?
Depends whether it's reported. That's how the statistics work. Yeah. So I've had both sides throw statistics at me. The thing with statistics is that it's not 100% collection. It's a collection of bad situations.
Yeah.
And so, sure, there could be this high percentage in this bad situation that was measured in a vacuum. Is that reality?
Yeah. This is interesting. Talking in circles. I agree. But that's because we're not looking for solutions. If we're saying that the school, if we're saying that the essay only happens at the school, okay, well now you solved that. Now what? Are you okay now? Is it done? So I think that's where you have to look deeper into what this bill is actually doing and what it's not doing. And so again, this is just open for discussion. The questions that I'm asking aren't because I feel a certain way about them. It's just because I want to explore every element of the topic. So this has been very interesting. Is there anything else you want to add to it? Like, I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know where else to go from here. When is this? Has the bill passed? Like, what's the deal with it? Has it passed, or when is it going up for?
It's getting there.
Yeah.
There's extremely high likelihood it's going to completely fulfill.
Really? What do you think this is going to do for? Let's say this does pass. What happens after that? What are your thoughts?
I think what happens after that is that there's going to be more secrecy than there was before. Is what I think is going to happen, and that's a very dangerous place, right? So now we have teachers going out of their way to keep secrets because their job says all of these other things. What does that look like? A teacher's function is to educate. A purpose of a good human being is to protect children. Those lines are getting grayed. They're getting grayed, and I'm torn because school was my safe place growing up. I had an abusive childhood. I looked forward to school. And so now I'm having to go, shoot. Should that be the case? Because of my other experiences later in life, where a basketball coach was abusing his form of power, where you see tons of, if you go look it up, I know the media doesn't talk about it enough. The statistics of teachers abusing their power and taking advantage is enough to have a conversation.
This is such an interesting conversation. It's such an interesting conversation because I'm just looking at the comments and I feel like there's so much emotion. There's a lot of emotion and rightly so. You guys got kids, man. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I mean, I don't get it, but I'll meet you there, right? I'll meet you there. Y'all got kids. Y'all want to protect the kids. I get that. Let's get really uncomfortable. To the people who are just like really kind of like, this is uncomfortable. Could it be that there's a part of you that doesn't want your child to be gay? Yes or no? Could it be that there's a part of you that does not want your child to be gay? And it's a safe space. Put it on there. If you don't want your child to be gay, put it on there. Let me know.
Or are you afraid your child doesn't want to be or isn't straight?
Right. Yeah. Put that on there. What's up, Brandon and Bridget? Hey. They don't. Am I reaching? This is a discussion, right? I'm asking questions. Not reaching. It's asking questions. Is there if I'm reaching, is that just, if you think I'm reaching, is that because you're uncomfortable with the question, right? Yes or no? Is there a possibility that you just don't want your kid to be gay, right? Because if it's truly about grooming, well, grooming happens all over the place. It does. So, let's talk about it, right? If it's really about grooming, that happens all over the place. Why is this the only thing that you're concerned about? And are you making content that's protecting grooming all over the, in the other areas? Or is this just, my kid's going to be at school and there's a possibility that he may be taught to be gay? And honestly, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say that that's a significant concern. If I was a parent, I don't want my kid, and I've already said this. I don't want my kid being exposed to gay culture at school, because kids are like a sponge. They take on what's around them. So yes, and I've already said, I think there's kids out here who are gay who aren't even gay. So understand, you're in a safe space. Let's talk about it, right?
I think where the charge is everyone knows that we need to protect kids.
Yeah.
What we're fighting about is who the villain is.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah. I think that's the most powerful point right there. And honestly, for me, I think the villain, you gotta look within. You gotta look within. You gotta look within, because if it's about grooming, then you need to be fighting grooming, right? You be fighting grooming. But if it's about, you just don't want your kids to be gay, then you got to get there, and that's okay. That is okay. But you got to figure that piece out, right? You do. You honestly do, and there's no judgment here. The gay world is interesting, and there's a lot of people out there who still don't want it, right? They support it, they respect it, but they don't want that forced onto their children. I get that. I'm with you, right? I'm saying yes. I don't think that there should be. I think there's too much gay discussion at the school, right? So, but this is an interesting conversation.
This is a wild one from an aerial perspective. It's wild.
It's a wild one, man. It's a wild one. There's a lot of different areas that this can go. Okay, almost time for my event. My event's already started. My concern is abuse of power. It's so interesting. I'm so glad, Becca. Thank you so much for doing this, because there's a lot going on here.
So the abuse of power one. Let's get uncomfortable there.
Go ahead.
So does that apply to political ideologies too? Does that apply to religion? Does that apply to athleticism? Does that apply to hobbies? Right? It is a fair statement to say that teachers are highly influential over their kids. And what's the process for vetting that? Really? What is it? A teacher shows up one day and is a busy parent who has to deal with life and everything. Very rarely is anything looked at other than the name. And then we go, what? This is happening? But then half the school supports them and the other half hates them. But it's too late. The damage is done. Pandora's box is opened.
Let kids choose their own path for everything. I agree with that, Anna. And I told my sister, man. My sister has 2 children, and I said, listen, if I were an adult, and I'm speaking from a point of privilege, if I were an adult, I would not send my kids to public school or any school. Really, I would homeschool. I'd make a way in homeschool. I'd find a way, if that meant changing my job, changing my career. And I know some of you might be like, well, that's easy for you to say. Well, is it though? If it's your child, and you're going to do anything for your child, right? Let's get there. You're saying, I would do anything for my child. I would kill a person for my child. Okay, but would you change careers? Would you struggle a bit so that you can figure it out? Would you do that for your child? And so, and that's where I can't do that. Well, then you're not. Then you wouldn't do everything for your child. And so, and that's where, again, the villain is you, right? So if you think that doing this to get this bill not passed is doing everything for your child, when you could change your trajectory and be there in your child's life every single day and just figure out a way. The villain is you, So I don't know, man. It's an interesting conversation. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but everybody's got to find their own way. So I don't know what else to add to this discussion. I think this is yes, I did. Yes, I would. I quit my job twice for him. Right.
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm really not. I'm not trying to do it, y'all. Y'all know we get uncomfortable here. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. But if you've got such an issue, I don't know. We have to start talking about that. The pandemic taught you nothing. You're on your own. And you got to figure this out.
The homeschool conversation is sensitive. We homeschooled, and I had to change my whole life to adjust for it. And I had negative stigma about homeschool too. That negative stigma is there of well, homeschool kids have these disadvantages. No.
Who cares?
They don't. It's what you put into it.
Right. But at least you know what your kid's getting. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They may have a disadvantage. That's fine. But at least they're home safe. So if you send your child out there in the world without you and you're not there by their side, hip to hip, there's the potential that they can be exposed to something. How are you teaching your kid to navigate that, right? So if it's about grooming, what are you doing to teach your kid not to be groomed? Let's have that discussion, right?
That's
Let's
right.
have that discussion. And so that's where parents, we're not ready for that discussion, right? We're not ready for that one. But let's have that discussion. Grooming exists. What are you doing to teach your kid not to be groomed? It's no different than the racism conversation. And y'all know, people who follow me, y'all know. Racism exists. What are you doing to teach your child to navigate racism, right? Not stopping the racist, because that's never going to happen. How are you going to teach them to understand it, to recognize it, and to navigate it and not let it affect them, right? Same thing with grooming. Same thing with all this stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing that we have to understand, and that's what I'm understanding about my journey, is that the villain is you. I love that you brought up the villain thing. The villain could potentially be you. You think it's a groomer, but if you haven't taught your child how to not be groomed and what to look for, the villain is you. The villain is absolutely you. So you can call me a groomer all you want to, but what are you doing to protect your child from people like me? Not like me. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
No, it's.
But
I tell my kids, question everything, even if it's me.
right, boom,
Every single thing.
boom.
Because
boom.
I had misplaced trust. So did millions of children all over the world today. Point in a direction, go 100 feet. You'll find a child who had their trust misplaced because they didn't get taught the skills.
Yeah. So this TikTok is gay, so I'm out. Cheers. I love that. He's cool. He's joking. Okay, guys, listen. I don't know what else. I think I got there.
I got there. This was fun.
I've arrived. You know what I mean? I think that I know what I'm going to say about it. The Don't Say Gay bill is. I think you defined it really well. One side thinks that they're gonna put kids in danger because they're gonna out them to the conservative parents. The other side thinks that they're gonna put kids in danger because they're gonna expose them to liberals who want to make them gay. And we got to find the middle in that. And if you really don't want to do the work to find the middle in that, then what are you doing to protect your child from the potential of liberals making them gay, or what are you doing to prepare them for a life outside of not being gay or something? I don't know. But okay, Becca, what are your final thoughts on the discussion?
Need to get through the noise and focus on a root cause problem, because the back and forth over who's the bad guy, mirrors are important.
Yeah, and at the middle of that, we got kids that are watching y'all do this. So Thank you, my friend. Y'all follow boldly growing forward. She does a lot of great work with this. She's an open platform, open minds. She also holds very difficult, uncomfortable conversations with her community, and tap into her. So thank you so much. Get out of my life.
Thanks. Bye.
You're amazing. Bye.